when my faith shall be sight. Joe, thank you for your words. We've been challenged. We heard words from the sage, as he called it, and he challenged us to remember, and to count what really matters. And that's what coming together for an event like this does. It makes us count what matters. There are two ladies here today that are going to pay tribute to Martha's life, Carol Schroyer and Wanda Steiner. I'm going to invite them up. And then after they're done, the grandchildren that compile memories, and Krista and Davis Bacher are going to share those. And then immediately following that, Terrell will pay a tribute to his mom. So, Wanda and Carol, please come.
I'm thankful for the privilege that I had of knowing Martha, even though I didn't know her until she was older. She was in her early 70s, and I would have been half her age when we became friends. She seemed kind of like my mom. Martha had friends of all ages, because Martha loved people. I know the last thing Martha would want is for me to say a lot of flowery things about her, even if they are true. She was a little woman with strong values of faith in God, love for her family, people. We always looked forward to when John and Martha would come in the fall to be here for the winter. With her warm, gracious hospitality, she would have us over for a delicious meal, and we'd catch up on their summer in North Dakota. How the canola crop had been, the honeybees produced, and honey, they always brought us honey. And we'd just catch up on each other's families. Even though Martha was older, it didn't stop her from trying new things. I remember one time she said she had several of us ladies over for a tea party. She had made a cake in the shape of a teapot and covered it with marzipan. I don't really know what that is, and if you do know, you know more about it than I do. She told us it was the first time she had ever used marzipan. Needless to say, it was too pretty to eat. She loved to serve people in any way she could. One night, our cell group was working at the church back when we were building our first building here. After a while, John and Martha showed up with fresh donuts they had made for us. That's just a snapshot of the many things Martha did. She shouted out her faith in a quiet, unnoticed, everyday acts of kindness. Martha was an inspiration, an example of an older godly woman. I'm sure that her heart's desire is that we would all live in such a way that we can look forward to seeing her again on the other side.
A tribute to Martha. She was a woman of simplicity, of wisdom, of love. She loved her husband, her children, and her grandchildren so much. I love to hear her talk about her family. She was so proud of y'all. And we can know because of her faith in Jesus that she heard those words in Matthew 25:21 from her Father. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. As I was thinking back of the 7 to 8 years that we've known John and Martha, somehow being with them felt like a safe place to be. It reminded me of the feelings I would have when I was with my own grandparents years ago. 4 years ago, we were on our way home from Dryden, Ontario, and we stopped in to see them at their home in North Dakota. We loved seeing the place they called home. They, along with Krista, took such good care of us. Martha went to a lot of bother for us, trying to cook food she thought our children would enjoy. One of her boys said later that he doesn't think he ever ate so much food at one sitting, but John and Martha kept passing the dishes of food around, telling them to eat up, that growing boys need lots of food. One morning, John and Krista took Alan and the boys to go fishing in hopes hopes of having fresh walleye for lunch. They weren't real successful that morning, so John came home and pulled some of their own fish out of the freezer, and we were still able to enjoy a yummy meal of pan-fried walleye. Martha proudly took me over to the 2-story house next door where they had lived as newlyweds and where they raised their children and just did life for many years. As she was showing me around, you could hear the wistfulness in her voice, knowing that downsizing was better for them at this time of their lives, but very hard. I loved her sweet smile. She always made me feel so special, as I know she did to many of you. John, I know you're hurting so badly right now because of how much you love each other. What a testimony you two have loved for us and caring for each other. But with that fierce love comes much pain and loss. One thing I've written in my journal that I want to leave with you: the only thing that costs more than caring is not caring.
As a child, Monica always felt like Grandma's lap was a safe, loving place to be. Her hands were gentle and her words were always kind. Every delicious thing that came out of her kitchen was made with love and a desire to serve those she loved. Monica always knew that no matter what she did, Grandma's love for her would never change. Then, as an adult, she began to realize the legacy of love and commitment to Jesus that Grandma was leaving behind for her grandchildren. The grandchildren remember often falling asleep to the sound of Grandma and Grandpa praying for their children and grandchildren.
Rhonda remembers Grandma always having a kind and encouraging word for those she came in contact with. Grandma's quiet and gentle spirit has inspired Rhonda as well as many others to be more like her. Sierra says she is so proud to be adopted into this family. She loved to spend time with Grandma while they were snapping beans, shelling peas, and husking the corn.
Dinah remembers, before Eden could drive, every Christmas, Grandpa's would take us Christmas shopping for our parents. These were always fun outings, but one year in particular, I remember we were on our way home when Grandma offered us candy. I happily accepted, but I was sorely disappointed when it had nuts in it. This incident aside, Grandma was always a giver of good gifts. Knowing my love for her raspberry jam, there was often a jar included in my birthday gift. And of course, at Christmas time, there were always a few turtles with no nuts in them for me.
Vaughn said, when he moved down to South Carolina as a young single man, he greatly appreciated that Grandma always welcomed him into her house and always made him feel at home. After he got married and started having children, he loved the way she genuinely loved and took interest in all of their lives. Brody and Cole remember the countless hours Grandma would sit and work on her cross stitch.
Grandma had a love for tea parties and collected many teacups. She loved to give some of her granddaughters a tea party. Over the years, she also gave many of her teacups away to her grandchildren.
Nikita loved to deliver the mail to Grandma, along with a fresh-picked bouquet of flowers that she would find from the yard.
I remember when Wanda and I were 14 and 15, we decided to spend a month in North Dakota with Grandpa and Grandma on the farm. When we would go out fishing with Grandpa, Grandma would go along to watch and spend time with us. One of the highlights of the summer was convincing Grandma into going out and target shooting with us. We also remember the countless hugs and care Grandma showed us during our time with them.
Serena and Sheldon remember as young children, Grandpa and Grandma would spend the winter in their basement. Every Sunday afternoon, they would lie on the floor at the door leading down to their apartment in the basement. They would lie still on the floor with their noses pressed to the crack at the bottom of the door, waiting, not always very patiently, for the smell of popcorn. As soon as they would smell the popcorn, they would take that as their invitation to join him.
Carlin said that after he started nursing school, he started hearing about Grandma's own aspirations for years past. Prior to meeting Grandpa, she always intended on going to nursing school. When Carlin graduated from nursing school, he remembers giving her a rose he received, partly because he didn't know what to do with it, and partly because of the excitement of being able to accomplish something Grandma had always dreamed of. However, instead of pursuing just her own dreams, she poured her life into being an amazing mother to 8 wonderful children.
Brian and Aaron remember spending hours sitting on the front porch, spending time with Grandma, helping with the fresh picked vegetables from the garden. When I would go over to Grandma's house for supper, she always wanted to feed me more food, passing the food around the table multiple times in order to get everything cleaned up. She would also worry that I did not get enough if something was not cleaned up. She always had a servant's heart, putting the needs of others before herself.
Jasmine's favorite memory is the way Grandma would smile. She had a smile that would light up her room and bring joy to everyone around. Whether she was in the kitchen baking, on the couch cross-stitching, or outside working on her garden, Grandma always had a vibrant smile on her beautiful face. She loved to joke and laugh and have fun. Grandma was a woman who lived life to its fullest. She had a way of cheering everyone up and making her grandchildren giggle with joy. Jasmine is so thankful that her daughter Michelle got to spend time laughing and joking with her grandma, or Grammy, as Michelle would call her.
Kona enjoyed when Grandma took the time to tell stories about her childhood. He also loved playing card games and helping with the garden work. Grandma may not have been able to spend each birthday with her grandchildren, but she made them feel special by always remembering to send them a birthday card in the mail.
Kimberly remembers one summer when her family was up to visit Grandpa and Grandma. She had been wanting to learn how to counter cross-stitch. They were busy canning and Kimberly got bored, so Grandma took time to sit down and teach her how to cross-stitch. She really appreciated Grandma patiently taking time to sit down with her and teaching her to counter cross-stitch. All of the grandchildren cherished the quilts that Grandma made for each of them when they were born. It is a reminder of the countless hours of love that she poured into each of the lives of her grandchildren.
Eden's first image when she thinks of Grandma is her hands. To her childish eyes, Grandma's hands were so beautiful. Long, slim fingers, neat white crescents at the top of each nail. I can see them forming dough in buns, cross-stitching, and squeezing my hand in warmth and affection. I even had the sweet delight of seeing her hands hold some of my babies, her great-grandchildren. Her life was so long and full. She left her fingerprints on the lives of so many others. Eden loved Grandma, and it gives her so much joy to think of Grandma putting her hand into the nail-scarred hand that created Grandma.
Tribute of memories of Mom. This song is from yesteryear, although I will not attempt to give you the musical rendition. I will repeat these words. Supper time. When I was but a boy in days of childhood, I used to play till evening shadows come. Then winding down that old familiar pathway, I heard my mother call it set of sun. Come home, it's supper time. As you already heard, meal times were a big deal at our house. Actually, Mom would always have 3 hot meals every day. She would get up early and prepare a big breakfast before we headed off to school or to work in the field or the garden. As I had been reflecting I am sure that a majority of Mom's effort and time went into preparing for the food needs of her family of 10. From the bushels and bushels and bushels of vegetables to can and freeze, the 2 beef and the 4 to 6 hogs that they butchered each year, and the mountains of laundry that a family that size can produce. But we do never remembering Mom complain about all the work she needed to do. Mom would always serve selflessly and cheerfully. And even with the amount of work to accomplish in a day's time, we would expectantly wait to hear these words. Boys, go wash your hands, it's time to eat. Preparation was always important to Mom. There was always the cake that needed to be baked in case of unexpected company, and usually we needed it. We may have not known who would be showing up or who was invited over, but it was always met with generous hospitality. This reminds me of another who gave to us sacrificially and says, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go, I will come again. Mom was looking forward very much to going to this place prepared for her and to be in the presence of Jesus. She lived her life prepared to meet him, and she prayed every day for her children and her grandchildren that each of them would live in such a way that they would also be prepared to see him on their day. Another outstanding characteristic of Mom were her kind eyes and her smile. Her cheerful personality was evident. If you were one who only briefly knew Mom,